Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. My name is Fran Farrell Bergeron, and I worked in public libraries for 40 years, and now I'm retired. But being in this room brings back many happy memories of meetings and programs and all kinds of workshops. So it's kind of like an old home week for me. We're here tonight to talk about a very important issue. And, this is one of those things where when you know somebody who has a need, suddenly the issue becomes really important to you. And that's what happened to a bunch of us. And we have assembled here a group of people to talk to you tonight who are so inspiring and amazing. Their stories of how their lives were changed, and in the doctor's case, how she helps change lives, are just amazing. I hope that you'll agree with us that it's an important thing to talk about and to get the word out about. I have a couple of things I want to tell you. We're passing around this sign-up sheet. We'll be coming around for your kidney at the end of the program. We really want to know, how did you find out about the program? We want to know what works. What of all the ways that we advertised about tonight, what worked? How did you hear about it? So I'll be passing that around. I want to make sure that you know that in order to save time, I'm not going to be jumping up every couple of speakers to say who's who. When they come up, they'll explain who they are and they'll tell you their amazing stories. We hope that there will be time at the end for question and answer period and a little bit of discussion. I'm going to ask you, if possible, if you will try and hold your questions until the very end, because we want to make sure that all of the speakers get a chance to talk. And sometimes when one question gets asked, a whole bunch of things come up and suddenly the program gets out of hand. So we're not going to let that happen tonight. So please hold your questions, write them down as they occur to you. Our first speaker tonight is Dr. Basma Murphy.
Thank you everyone for coming today. I know it's a special day for awareness about kidney transplantation, kidney donation. And my name is Dr. Murphy. I'm one of the transplant nephrologists at Rhode Island Hospital, and I am the medical director of the Living Donor Program. I have a few slides to share with you to express what is living donation is and who can donate and what's the purpose of this event today. So in Rhode Island Hospital, we have excellence in living donation since 1997. We close around 1,600 transplants. 30% of them are from a living donor, and we have 295 patients waiting on the waiting list for a kidney transplant. Nationwide, there is more than 100,000 people waiting on the waiting list, and around 90,000 people are waiting for a kidney transplant. So a lot of people are waiting for cadaver kidney transplant, and as we know, the waiting time is very long, and it's around 3 to 6 years. In our region, it's around 5 to 6 years waiting for a cadaver kidney transplant. So our goal is to really increase awareness about living donation and to understand why living donation is safe and what we should understand and what should we know about the program at Rhode Island Hospital. So we know about the kidneys, that they are filtering the system of our body, and they remove the waste and the waste products from the blood and produce the urine. The kidneys control the level of many substances in the blood and help to control our blood pressure. And a lot of patients who are on the list, they have a kidney disease, most likely from diabetes or high blood pressure, but there are other kidney diseases that can cause kidney failure, and one of them is polycystic kidney disease or genetic disease, lupus nephritis, IgA nephropathy, and so on, that we don't have to mention it, but there is a lot of causes, and most of them are blood pressure and diabetes. So when patients have advanced kidney failure or advanced kidney disease and they are in a need for treatment, there are a few options. Hemodialysis is one of them, peritoneal dialysis is one of them, cadaveric kidney transplantation is one of them as well. But the best and the preferred treatment for treatment of the kidney disease is a living donor kidney transplant. And we all know that the living donor kidney transplant helps the recipient not to be on the list for a long time, not to be on dialysis for a long time, and that can help prevent cardiovascular disease. And living donation is definitely much better than waiting on the list for a cadaver kidney, because the kidney works very quickly after kidney donation, after living donor, and the patient and the recipient feels much better, and they start producing urine, and this is what we are looking for the recipient. So the living kidney donation evaluation is very rigorous and very intense workup for the donor, because we want to make sure that the donor is healthy enough to proceed with the donation. So we do a lot of comprehensive medical and psychosocial workup to ensure a good candidate is for the living donation. And the Rhode Island Hospital transplant team highly commended for safety of the living donor and the good outcome for the donor and for the recipient. So why the kidney donation, the living donor kidney donation is very important is because it gives the recipient to live longer, to enjoy a better quality of life, and not to be on dialysis. And after transplant, patients can be independent, they can work, they can travel easier, they have better energy, they have little restrictions on what to eat and what to drink, and that improves even people who are at gestation age is to get fertility back and to get pregnant and have kids. So the living donation is usually arranged or it's a scheduled surgery. You don't have to be on the waiting time for 5 years or 6 years, and it lasts much longer than a cadaver kidney. So the living kidney donation lasts around 12 to 14. Sometimes we have living donations, recipients who had the kidney transplant that lasts for around 20 years and the kidney is still working very well. Comparing to a cadaver kidney transplant where the kidney lasts around 8 to 10 years only. Living kidney donors report personal growth, interpersonal and spiritual benefit from donation. For the short-term risk of the living donors, they had, after surgery, we have to make sure that they stay in the hospital for up to 2 days, 2 to 3 days. They have some pain after surgery, but usually they recover in the next week, and they fully functional or go back to their baseline and up to 6 to 8 weeks. So we tell the patients to take it easy, relax, don't overexert themselves, and don't overweight, don't lift heavy liftings for them. So really restrict the physical activity for 12 weeks. The long-term risk, the donor should stay healthy and avoid illness or injury to the remaining kidney. So who can be a living donor? A healthy person over the age of 18 years old who is free from diabetes, who is free from uncontrolled high blood pressure, from obesity, cancer, or chronic infection. So if any patient has high blood pressure that is very well controlled on one blood pressure medication, they can still donate the kidney. They have to be stable from the mental health problems, and they have to be motivated to donate. They have to be free from pressure or coercion and free from any secondary gain. So we really encourage the potential donors to fill out a questionnaire online, and this is the website where donors can, go over the questionnaire and fill the information. So any donor who is interested, or any person who is interested to be a donor, can be, including relatives, unrelated, non-directed, or incompatible pair. We always have options, and we do not really ask. It's important to ask about the blood group, but we can always have a way to do the donation and to do what we call it the kidney pair exchange, or the swapping program with another pair if there is no incompatible pair. So share the need for a kidney donor. So telling of events that led to needing a kidney donor to as many people as possible, then increases the chance that someone will call for more information. Research shows that 25% of people will donate a kidney to someone that needs one. Our program gets calls from family, friends, neighbors, church, community, and other strangers. A friend of a friend, or I saw it on the car, or a social media, or a billboard, or I heard it on a blog. So we have to share the need of a kidney donor. It's hard to talk about it. It's hard to find a person, and sometimes the recipients are very shy to ask about kidney donation, but we really encourage the recipient to be positive and to look for a living donor champion. A living donor champion is someone ready to take up the charge to help share your story so you can focus on your treatment and the health. So who can be a living donor champion? Family member, friend, co-worker, neighbor, or anyone who cares about you and will support you. So sharing the story is I need to have a kidney transplant and the best option is to find a living donor. So please help me spread the word. So we really encourage the recipient to share their story and to talk about their story in social media, on Facebook, in the church, and anywhere they go to discuss it with people and let them know that they are in the need for kidney transplantation. And again, this is the website for Rhode Island Hospital. And again, no concern about the blood type of the donor because we can always find a way to make it work with the SWAP program or the kidney care program. So we really encourage all the patients to find a living kidney donor because the survival or the patients living longer and has less cardiovascular diseases, has complications, they have a better life after the kidney transplantation. So make a list of people to tell. Let everybody know about your need for a kidney transplant, family, friends, work, neighborhood, school, sports, anywhere you go, you have to spread the word. Wedding parties, church meetings, local news, fundraisers, social media, everywhere we really encourage the recipient, and this is what we do at the Ryan Hospital. We tell the recipient, go and spread the word to everywhere you go to let people aware that awareness is very important, that you are in need for a kidney transplant and that there's a lot of shortage for a cadaveric kidney transplantation. So the resources for patients, as I said, Lori is our amazing social worker. So please reach out to her. She is very helpful in this, give information to the patients. And Michael Friend is the other social worker, but I will give all the credit to Lori. So the National Kidney Foundation, the big ask with this gift, the gift program, Kidney Talk Real Support Network are all resources for patients to look for potential donors. I end my discussion here, but I can say one word, it is donation is life-changing, it's a gift for life, and I can tell like nobody who donated a kidney regrets that they donated. They feel a lot of mixed emotions of joy and relief and happiness after donation to help the recipient have a better life after donation.
We have some materials here. Hi everyone, I'm Lori Craig, I'm a social worker. I've had a great pleasure working with Dr. Green for many years. We have brought cards with our website for anyone that wants more information about living kidney donation. We have our brochures in the back. And if you are someone who is looking for a kidney donor or help finding sharing your story, we have these, I brought these folders for patients and folks looking to, with our numbers in them and resources to help share your story and find a kidney donor. So you can just come see me or see the materials in the back table. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Rick, and I had my kidney donation, my kidney transplant actually, March 5th of 2020. So it's been a little while now, and it was one of the better days of my life, as you can imagine. The shirt I'm wearing is a big fat lie because Rick no longer needs a kidney. Thankfully, again. And I am here basically to give a little thumbnail of my story and kind of show off some of my little treasures here. So my story began when I'm 21, which, trust me, was a long, long time ago. And I went to a urologist because I ended up having testicular cancer, that's kind of the age, if you're going to get testicular cancer, is when you're like 18 to 40 is the most common time. So it's unlike a lot of diseases that's younger that you got to watch out for it. But so I went back to the doctor after my testing, and wasn't one of my better days because he said, if you do have testicular cancer, And you also have polycystic kidney disease. So, I was like, well. And he said that polycystic kidney disease, we'll put that on the back burner because you probably won't get trouble from that, if at all, till you're in at least your 40s or 50s. So let's worry about the testicular cancer, which we did, and I'm here, so that obviously turned out well. And sooner or later, and it was in the back of my mind because I'm 19, 20, 21, in that range. And 40 at the earliest seemed like, I gotta worry about that. We'll be flying around in cars by then, and we're not flying around in cars when I reached 40, and it came sooner than I thought. But, it came. I got a nephrologist, and Dr. Zippin, who's retired now, he was in East Providence. And, I went in my yearly, then my 6-month visits with him, and then he said it's time to consider transplant, which we did, and he introduced me to the folks that did the transplant. And we went along, and it's just a lot of testing, as a lot of you, if you have some form of kidney disease now, you've got to get your blood tested an awful lot. But what happened then was, to make a long story shorter, was I talked to a bunch of people, got some ideas. We had a meeting with some friends, my husband Bob and a bunch of friends, and we put together a little bit of a game plan. And what that involved was getting the word out, because as the doctor said, the main thing is information and getting it out. So we decided to have some shirts printed up. But, in order to get the shirts printed up and not have everyone throw them in a closet, we also organized some events, which I had a slide of, but I'm not sure. Let me close out of this, actually, because I know where it is. Here it is. Here we go. So here's a bunch of my friends at the Charlestown Seafood Festival. And so Bob and I tried to organize some events where things we might do with our friends anyway. And everyone was required, except if they strenuously objected, to wear, and no one did, to wear the shirts. And so we circulated and went around the festival and enjoyed the festival, but wear this, and you'd be amazed at how just a small group of people ended up spreading the word. And nothing came out of that specific event, but we did others. And whenever I went on vacation or away for a weekend, I wore the shirt, that type of thing. And even at this event, they had a DJ, and I'm kind of a shy person to a degree, but even to wear the shirt was, and I went up to the DJ finally, and I was like, I have a shirt on, so, and I'm like, would you mind announcing between songs that, some people are wearing shirts around here, and if you're inclined to ask for more information, just tap one of them, hit them up. And he actually gave me the mic. He goes, no, go ahead, do it. So I ended up having to do it, which made it even worse. But we did it, and nothing necessarily came out of that day, like I said. But you have to learn, if you're the one looking or you love someone who's looking, that you got to try these things anyway, because not everything's going to work. We also had, Bob actually had bumper stickers printed up, and I gave them to friends, and I got a call from as far away as Worcester. My friend was, so I could have had a Worcester kidney, but those are the best from what I've heard. But, that didn't work out either, but someone saw it in Worcester, which otherwise I wouldn't have been able to spread any word in Worcester, because I don't really go there often for work or anything like that. So this person did work around that area, so it must have been her. Business cards, same message, and little buttons, so all of this stuff. And I would say I got a response from, at least one response, from all things. Like you guys are doing with the sign-up sheet, I would ask people where, how did you find out about this type of thing to see what was working. So anyway, zoom forward, I finally got a call who had seen my website. So let's try this again. This is the title page from my website. It's a lot like Sharon Needs a Kidney, because the same guy that's friendly with myself and Sharon did the website for us, and he's a heck of a guy. And so this is the website, and this particular man, I mean, other people had come and gone, both people I knew and people I didn't know. And it's difficult to, and it's anybody you can imagine, to maintain positivity through. You just can't. You can say I'm going to be positive at the beginning of the journey, but, you have a bad day at work, you just wake up and you're miserable. You're in a miserable mood. It doesn't have to be anything. And then on those days, it's hard. But you really have to fight through that, because it is worth it, because I'm living proof. Because I had a bunch of bad days where, maybe the worst thing, and maybe the doctor can attest to this too from her vantage point, is to have that person that's going along. And then the doctor has to tell you, after they've been testing, that we ran into a roadblock. And as a mature adult, to not get your hopes up, because it might not work out. But let's face it, how much did any of us prescribe to that? Because it's human nature, at least for most people, to be hopeful. So, you can know that mentally, but it feels like crap when it falls through. I can tell you that. But you've got to keep going, or the person has to keep going and wearing these silly shirts and having buttons on. And eventually it will pay off. Like I said, the gentleman who saw my website went through his own process. He was considering giving because someone in his family had kidney problems. And then he saw a bunch of the websites, and he said, for whatever reason, mine somehow got his attention. He liked what he read, and who knows how those things work in life. But so anyway, we introduced we met each other in Boston, and I can tell you this: we both agreed that it's very strange. It's like a blind date, if anyone's ever been on a blind date. Obviously, you've got no romantic interest in this person, but you're riding to the meeting place going, gee, I hope I like him. I hope he likes me. Maybe he's going to change his mind when he meets me. Maybe I'm horrible. And all these date things keep going through your head. And it ended up all working out fine, but he had said that he went through the same thing, kind of. So we met, we went through all the further testing and everything, and hospital day came, as I was telling some of the folks here, we had what I believe is the last elective transplant surgery before COVID, because we were March 5th, 2020. So, we snuck in under the wire, which was great. Though I can tell you mentally, it's not great to be on immunosuppressants right when COVID hits. Because they're telling you stuff on TV that's, at that time, that was like, oh my God, I can't go out of the door. But anyway, we all know how all of that worked out, so for better or worse in different cases. But I got through that, and I can tell you the surgery itself, his surgery as a donor is just to take nothing away from him, because it's like the bravest thing you can do. And he was going to come, but he had a family obligation to tell you about it himself. But he was out of the hospital. We had him on Thursday morning, I think, and he went home Saturday morning. And then Friday, he was walking around the hospital. One of their policies was not to put the donor and the donee in the same room. I'm not sure if that's still a thing or not, but in our case it was. And he's walking around, hi! I was in bed like a truck hit me, because they had some complications, which all got resolved while I was asleep. And they got it all together, but poor Bob, my surgery was like hours longer than they anticipated because they needed to fix this one issue that was, not a transplant surgery usual issue, but just something that was my kidney and his kidney didn't like each other in one way at first, and then they did. In any case, I mean, honestly, he had laparoscopic, which is just 4 cuts, and he said he was feeling totally back to normal within a week. And like I said, he went home really 2 days later, a day and a half. And I was home by the following Monday, but mine was, with polycystic kidney disease, your kidneys grow with cysts. So the donee can also have laparoscopic, I believe, Dr. Greg, but I couldn't have laparoscopic because my kidneys were the size of, they were big. So you wouldn't be able to remove them through a small incision. So I got a bigger smile incision, and all worked well. And, lastly, I'll wrap up my portion here with just a message that even with the donor and the donee, Mike and I became good friends, and I just visited him with Bob last weekend? Yeah, up in Pittsfield, which is where he lives. And he visited me last night. It's not like we're on the phone every day. And it really is tough waters to navigate at first in the sense of, you have to get a feel in your own relationship. Do I want to be, am I going to pester this person? I don't need to be friends, but do they want to, And so everyone works out their own issue with that. And we decided we don't talk every day. We don't talk for weeks sometimes, but we'll check in with each other and visit each other. And I guess basically that's my story. And at the end, myself and everyone else here will be happy to take your questions if you have any.
Hi, my name is Barbara Scott. I don't have that kind of extensive work to tell you about. I was just a person who was a young mom in a community in Barrington. I don't know how many years ago. I was a teacher. And I had this lovely little girl named Susie in my class. And I got to know she and her dad, her mom and her dad, very well. And I've known them over a very long period of time. And in just talking with them over time, her father was a doctor, as a matter of fact, very shy man of all things. But he did reveal that he had gotten a kidney transplant from his brother many years before. And after about 32 years, the kidney was giving out. And the little girl, Susie, was all grown up now, but her mom was just asking people in a community gathering. I think, unfortunately, it might have been a funeral. We were all together, and she was going around and saying, my husband needs another kidney. My husband needs another kidney. And I said, well, what do you need to do to give a kidney? Well, just get a blood test. Start there, she said. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. And I did, and we were a match. And this is going to be great, because these people I really cared about. And the prep was very comprehensive. I did appreciate the amount of lab work, the amount of consults that I went through in order to know whether this was the right thing for me to do. Unfortunately, my friend got cancer, and he couldn't be a recipient. And that was very disappointing in my heart. My heart was breaking. But I thought, well, they know what kind of a kidney I have, so there's other people, and I would go to the kidney center in Providence, and I realized how many people were sitting there because they needed one. And I thought, I can do this. I can do this. I'm ready. So that's what we did. And they said, oh, we will find you a good match. And they did. And so we got that all squared away, and in we went for the day. I just turned myself over to the doctors and everybody else. I felt so cared for. So cared for. And it was an easy process for me. And I did this just after I turned 71. I wasn't a teenager anymore, and I thought, are they going to want a kidney from this old woman? But it worked out. It worked out. And I actually saw a picture of my kidney, and it looked pretty nice. And somebody in this room will tell you that it worked out okay for him. And so a couple of days later, someone said, well, do you want to know who you gave your kidney? I said, that's not important. The most important thing is that somebody got it. But my friend said, sure, I'll make myself known. And my friend Hugh is here, and you can raise your hand up. And the advantage is you get to know another person in that way too. We're both human beings. We both have needs. I could be a helper. And I had a remarkably easy recovery, just a couple of days. Actually, going back a little bit, I got interested in doing this a little bit earlier because a colleague of my husband's, his wife, needed a kidney transplant. And I thought, oh, how about me? How about me? Oh, no, you can't do it. And I thought, why? But anyway, and she did get a family transplant person. She had a big family. And so I saw how that went, and I thought it was miraculous. So I had already had that experience to see how it worked. And I will tell you, it is one of the, I don't know, just best experiences ever. Ever. I'm the kind of person, and most of us are, we want to say, we look out into the world and we say, boy, the world's a mess. There's just so much wrong. How can I help? How can I help? Well, this is a way to help in some regard. And so in that way, it was fulfilling. So if you think that you have the capacity to be a helper in that way, or someone you know does, I would encourage it. Somebody said to me, well, didn't you worry that maybe some family member of yours might need a kidney, and then you've already given yours away? Well, I said, yeah, that could happen, but I'm not going to sit around waiting to see if what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? I already did a lot of laundry for people and sent a couple of kids through college, and I had done that part. And if I could be the one to give, then if my family members needed it, that perhaps someone else would do that too. So don't wait. That's what I could say. And that's my story. So.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sheila Drew. I'm a nurse, and I'm here to talk about my kidney story, and then at the end I have some dispelling myths slides at the end, so I added them. But 12 years ago, I donated a kidney to a stranger, so I'm going to tell you how that went. Well, first of all, you got to know, this is my family. It's my husband and our daughter. We have a daughter from China. My husband and I were married 17 years, no kids, no pets. He had colon cancer and then prostate cancer when he was 41. So kids were kind of out of the option. Plus, I grew up in an alcoholic family, and I thought Shamrock cell anemia, so I didn't want to have biological children. So after my husband he was doing good for about 5 years, and there was a notice in, I think, our church bulletin. It said, would you consider adoption? So I said to my husband, hey, let's go to the meeting. Maybe we can get like an 8-year-old to help around the house, and we'll send them to college. So we went to the meeting, and they said, no, don't think of an 8-year-old. You people are young now. I was 43. My husband was 48. And I'm thinking, baby diapers? Oh, my gosh. So that's what we did. We went to China, and we got this most precious gift in the whole wide world. And we really thought we were going to help her, and she really helped us. She's just a bunch of joy. So that's present day. Now I want to go back 12 years ago. So this is my baby. This was on Easter in 2012. And it was just after Easter. She was getting ready to go to bed. And I was looking at my email. It was an email from Quali, the organization that we adopted from. I know you can't read it, but it was a woman, Kay Benson, and they had an adopted child that was 8 years old, and she was on dialysis. And they had already reached out to their families, their neighbors, their churches, every relative known to me, because it had been 2 years on dialysis already. And they said, this email went to 10,000 adoptive parents. And it said, we have a child just like you, a little Chinese girl, and we love her more than the world. Would you consider being tested? So I said to my husband, oh, I'm so giving Hannah my kidney if they don't find a match. So I wrote back to the mom that night. She said, oh my God, you sound like a perfect match. I hope it's you and all that stuff. So I was very, very excited. I thought this was like God connecting with me because, this is Hannah. She was 8 at the time. And she looked just like my baby. And I think if my child needed a kidney, I would pray to God so it would come forward. So I had no question. I wasn't scared. I just knew I had to do it. So I went through a million tests. I had to see a social worker and a nurse, a psychiatrist. My mother's like, you're never going to pass. I had tons of blood work, 24-hour urine. I had the urine jug under my desk on ice during work and didn't tell anybody what I was doing because I didn't want anybody to know in case it didn't work. Chest x-rays. Well, I was having a KUB, and I could keep my top on just to move the skirt. And the checks came over and they were like, oh, and I could see them in the other room. I'm like, oh, what's that? She said, something's wrong. I'm like, oh God, please, I don't want anything to be wrong. And she said, oh, it's a zipper. And you sure? I said, turn it off. I wanted to do this so badly. So I had all the tests, and I was a match. And Kay, the mom of Hannah, she had called me a few times, and she said, "Oh, I think it's going to be you." And I just felt like God had connected us. We're older adoptive parents. It was just a beautiful thing. But then she told me, "You are a match, but," and that thought, like yours, Barbara, I was heartbroken. I mean, I just said, "Oh," I shouldn't do that. But I thought, God, this is supposed to be Kay. But she said, "No, you're a match, but there's another woman who's 47." And they want the youngest organ for a child. I was 49. I was so mad. I was so old. I was ripped. So for about an hour and a half, I was home. And I said, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Somebody's going to want my guts. And then I said, I'm going to call. I work at Rhode Island Hospital. I know they have a transplant department. I don't know anything about it. So I called and I said, I'm sure I need to give a kidney. I told them to have the whole story. They're like, oh, simmer down. So I said, okay. So she told me to come in on Monday. And so I met Sarah, the transplant nurse. And Sarah said, we've been at Avon. And Sarah said, I was intrigued by your message that you want to donate a kidney. She said, because I want to adopt a child. And you adopted a child. I said, I'll help you adopt a child if you help me give a kidney. So she adopted a child and I gave a kidney. And we just shared stories. I mean, we didn't really, do anything bad. But it was just fun to become friends. So I went through the process for Rhode Island Hospital, and they said, do you have any restrictions on it? Do you want to go to a boy or a girl, a black person, or a green person? I said, no, because I'm next on the list. My mother's like, you're not going to give it to somebody in prison, are you? I said, Mom, whoever needs it is going to get my kidney. So this is me, the first day post-op. Some of that smile is because of morphine. But you can see I got my retainers in my cup. My husband brought my pearls. I got my rosaries and and I was ready because I heard that after a couple of days they might let me meet the person, So I was all excited. And so it was... This is my baby a couple of days post-op. And then right after this, the nurse manager came in and she said, do you want to meet your recipient? He or she is on the floor now. And I said, yes, give me the lipstick. So I wheeled my breakfast tray out the door, down the hall. And this is Carol. I call her Kidney Carol. So I wheeled my tray to her door. I saw her in the bed. And we locked eyes. We hugged. And a second after the shot, we bawled for like 10 minutes. We didn't talk, we just bawled. Because I just felt like she has my body parts in her, And it was just an amazing experience. It's hard to describe. And we just connected, we became friends. And now, when I was on the hospital, it was the same thing. It was 3 days, I think I was there, because this is from 2012. Now, my husband was scared to death the whole process, but I said, sit down, I'm going to be fine. So, but, the whiteboards in the hospital, all the stuff up here, we'll see that little red arrow? My husband's like, you're not going home until you're perky again, because I was a little tired. I was doing laps around the nurse's station. I was like, no, I want her to be perky like she usually is. And then 2 weeks later, this is my post-op appointment, 2 weeks. So I was perky. I'm already sporting the blue and green in my baby, so life is good. And everybody, if anybody can see me, I know. Oh, this thing right over here. Hello? Can everybody everybody see my outfit, blue and green? I have one shoe, green shoe, one blue shoe. And I do this a lot because people ask me when I'm on the elevator, what's going on? I give my elevator speech and tell them what, about organ donation. So it's just a little weird thing I do. And I have several different pairs. Okay. All right. All right, so now about 6 weeks after I had donated, I called Hannah's mother because I knew Hannah was donating. She was receiving her kidney August 9th, and I gave mine actually August 6th. Now I didn't tell Hannah, or Hannah's the girl, I didn't tell Mom that I was doing that. But I called her and I said, oh, how's Hannah doing? She said, oh, she's doing amazing, you know. Blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, can you tell Hannah something for me? Tell her that I donated a kidney in her honor, because she gave me the idea. And she said, oh my God, we're gonna meet you. So we met at a restaurant, and they came down from West Roxbury, and they've been over to my house and stuff. Like, I just keep getting people, friends in my life. But that's the kind of person I am. I'm crazy like that. So I love new people. And it's just really great to, you know, my daughter's got some friends with her. And this is Kitty, Carol, and I at a restaurant. We went out like several times. And they made a salad name for her at restaurant in East Greenwich. What's it called? It's closed now. Division Street. This is trivia. Excuse me? No. Okay. Anyway, nothing. But anyway, we used to go there all the time. And Carol looks beautiful now. Look at her. That's like 6 weeks post-op. Yeah. She said she felt 20 years younger. And I dragged her to any organ donation things. You know, we always spread the word. And she's like, I have her kidney. And she claims to have a better sense of humor now, too. And she's had a new grandson since, you know, it's been 12 years now, but this is like a couple of years after. She said, I'm alive to see my extra grandkid. Thank you. So she was very, very appreciative. Her brother wrote me a note, thank you card, and he, I forget the math now, whatever, 3 times a year times 5 years, his dialysis. He wrote thank you that many times all over the letter. Thank you. So she doesn't have to be on dialysis anymore. Now, this is me spreading awareness because as I do the blue and green, I don't just do it one day, I do it a lot. So this is in my office at the hospital. This was a couple of years ago. But National Organ Donor Day is in April every year. So blue and green, like you think this is blue and green. I mean, like I'll do my hair, you know. I have my elevator speech because the facilities guys I work with at Allen Hospital, they're like, oh, Sheila, I got 2 different shoes on today. And so I explain why, because they think it looks a little odd. But I always have the same shoe, just different colors, so I don't want to hurt my back, you know. So, and New England Donor Services, I'm very active in volunteering with them. And then RIODAC, Rhode Island Organ Donor Coalition. So there's all kinds of ways that you can get as active as you want, or if you just want once in a while to do something. Just a wonderful bunch of people. This is a few years ago, I met with Mara Lorza. The woman to the right at the end, she's a nurse. And she got a heart transplant and then became a cardiac nurse. And then the woman way over on the left, she worked at the Tampa City Hall, and she gave her kidney to a co-worker's wife because they put a notice up in the break room. So you never know. And then, you know, I get invited, just like, you know, anybody who is willing to go to, you know, when there's a function, a community service or whatever, they put up a table, and I sit at the table, people walk by and they ask, you know, what are you doing? I'm saying, hey, what are you doing? Why do you drop a kidney? You know? And then this is me and my friend at church. I go to Christ the King in near URI. And anytime they have a blood drive, we set up an organ donor table. My theory is it's kind of like burglary, so homicide. But in a good way. You know, if you give blood, why don't you give an organ? So we do this. And so we do it several times a year at my church, and the father will announce it at communion, you know, say after church, go and give an organ, Sheila will chase you, you know. And of course I wear all the crazy clothes, and the kids that watching me at communion with the shoes wonder what's going on. I always planting the seed. And then this is, I think it's almost 5 years, 2017, yeah, a little bit more. I talk with anybody will ever give me an audience. I will be happy to tell my story, just because it makes me feel so good. And I was telling the story at Rhode Island Hospital. It was the week of Thanksgiving years ago, and this gentleman came up to me after, and he had tears in his eyes. He was with his wife, who was a nurse at the hospital. He was a fireman. And I said, oh, I want to meet you. I shook his hand and everything, and he said, I said, what's the matter? And he said, I I can't believe that a stranger you would give a kidney to a stranger. So it is possible. Somebody might help me because he had polycystic and all his family had it, so they couldn't help him. I said, Ray, buddy, I'm going to be your friend. So we became friends, and I got bumper stickers for the car, magnets for the car. I had pens made, and I do this all from the Brewville budget. People are like, oh, where do you get money for this stuff? Well, as my husband, you know. And I've helped maybe 7 people so far, but it just makes your heart feel good. So anyway, I had the idea because, I'm very faithful, and he is too. So I said, hey, I'm going to call the Catholic newspaper and see if they'll do something. So they wrote an article. So it was for Father's Day. This is his little boy, and his little boy had the fireman hat and said, my dad saves lives. Can you help save my dad? It was a tearjerker. So then, this is a year later. Reader inspired by story to give the gift of life. So somebody read our story, and she said, I can do what she would did. No, deal. So there she is. She was a police officer, and she said, usually we don't like firemen. She kind of joked. But she said, I can do it. She was a 29-year-old, total overachiever, going to law school, being a policewoman. And it's like, oh my gosh. And then I got to meet her post-op. This is the first moment that they met. He didn't know what was going on, And then I snuck in there too to meet her because it was like, oh my gosh, I love you. And then, oops, I missed one. Oh, and this is my niece had a friend whose uncle needed a kidney, so Mrs. Drew to the rescue. So they had all those racing cars, big magnets. They put them on the racing cars that said, a guy, father of 2 children, needs a kidney. And I gave them the flag, and they flew the flag all the race car trace. And somebody saw it, donated it. That was a few years ago. He went to Boston, and he's doing great. This guy, my boss, her brother's friend's son needed a kidney. This guy, Chris, actually lives with me. It was actually convenient this time. So I went to his house, dressed up like a nut, and told him I would help him. And he got his period exchange this last yearish. Yeah. And then this is, I used to call myself a kidney whisperer. Now I'm branched out. I'm just organ whisperer because a friend that I met this lady, she needed a liver. So I said, well, I think I can branch out. So she was going through a Cleveland clinic, a very, very sick woman. She was 41. I fell in love with her, of course. And so I called the Cleveland clinic and I said, I've donated a kidney and I really want to help a friend who needs a liver. And I heard you can give a piece of the liver. And I said, is that a problem? Is there to give a kidney? And she said, no, we love people like that because they're very healthy and they're very giving. I said, sign me up. So she said, well, give me your information. So I said, 5'2", 98 pounds. Because my friend AM is 6'2". And with liver, the size matters. I was so mad again. Like, why wasn't I taller and fatter or something? I don't know. But so I just decided I'm going to help her in another way. So I had all these, I got like 20 of these things made. I put them on everybody's car we know. And she shipped some to Cleveland because she had to go to the Cleveland clinic. And a woman from Cleveland saw that, dialed her up, and she got her a piece of her liver. Wow. And she's a lovely, lovely friend. I love her. Everything I do in the whole wide world is because of faith. It's very, very important to me, my family. And if I can help someone, it just makes me feel better. So don't go away yet. Because this was going to be the end, and I had to add on the myths. But please consider sharing your spare, okay? All right, now, true or false myths. Ready? It's not going to place the answers ahead. All right, but these are some very common myths. Donors can't live a normal, healthy life after donating. 12 years and counting right here, okay? I'm healthy as a horse. Donors are fully evaluated. The tests we had were unbelievable. People say it's like the best physical of your life. And one friend that I know tried to give my friend a piece of her liver, and this was in Cleveland, and while they were testing her, she failed the test, but they found out she had a heart condition. She needed an open heart. So thank God she went to that testing, and she had open heart a year ago, and she's doing great. So there's a reason. Donors cannot have children after donation. Well, that's a big myth. That's a bust. Yeah, just have to wait a little time. And then I know a couple of people that have had children after donating an organ. Donors have no choice regarding their recipients. True and false. Donors can choose to donate to a specific person, a family member, a friend, or in response to a particular stranger's need, like if you need to read a story like Rick. But donors also can do a paired exchange in which they're willingly paired with someone for whom they are a good match. Like if you have type O and somebody else has a B and you want to help your friend and they help your friend, and they switch around. So where there's a will, there's a way. Living donors have shorter overall lifespans. Well, I hope not. Due to strong health habits, post-donation, living donors tend to live longer. I think my fidelity score says I'm going to live to be 97, so I'm counting on it. The Catholic Church opposes organ donation. That's a big bust. My priest is really pro-organ donor awareness and donation and everything. Living donation can harm the sex life. Yes. Well, I was a donor. Okay. Well, that's not true. Most people resume normal relationship within a couple of weeks. Gay people cannot donate. Well, that's a bust as well. Many gay people generously donate to recipients who go on to live perfectly healthy lives. Donors are required to take anti-rejection meds. No. The only meds that I took was pain med in the hospital for a few days. And I was actually a little bit nauseous, so I lost some weight. So, small fun fact, I lost 17 pounds in 6 days. My undies were falling off me. So, if you want it for a weight loss therapy, whatever motivates you. Only young people can donate. Barbara? Okay. People well into their 70s frequently donate with no ill effects and go on to live perfectly healthy lives. People with tattoos, that's a funny one. Who thinks of that? Tattoos cannot donate. Well, that's false. They just have to wait a few days after having it done, I guess. So, it's a silly one. All right, thank you. Please consider being someone's miracle. Salute.
Okay, hi. My name's Dan Cawley. I gave a kidney to a friend, but he didn't know I was going to give it. I go to Assumption Church in Providence, and I saw in the parish bulletin that Father Ray Tatro needed a kidney. And so I took the bulletin home and called the number that was associated with it and asked, is 58 years old too old to give a kidney? And they said, not necessarily. And they asked a few basic health questions, and I did fine. Did fine with that. So I did it. They said, do you want him to know you're giving the kidney right now? And I said, no, just wait till it's almost a done deal, then we can figure it out. And so I met him at the hospital the day before the operation, and we just got our prep and moved forward with it. One of the interesting things was they kind of test you to see if you're nuts or something. And so during the test, the person said, well, you're Catholic and you're giving a kidney to a priest, so do you think that will get you into heaven? I said, I don't know about that, but are you doing it just because he's a priest? And I said, God, no. Some priests I wouldn't give a nickel to. And so they were, I guess that convinced her. Then gave the kidney, and it was great to do. And one of my sons said, remember what you said to Ray Tatro? Because he called me up to say thank you from a different hospital room. And I said, no. What did I say? He said, use it well. And he did. He's a great man who's done tons for the community. My wife and I were married in the basement of St. Michael's Church, where Ray Tatro started the Hispanic ministry in Providence. And so it was great to be able to do. It didn't go without mishap, though. You know, it's not like when I got out of the hospital within 3 days. They basically say you have to walk a certain amount and you have to be able to pee on your own once they take the catheter out. And I did. But then when I got home, I wasn't able to pee again. Right away I ended up with urinary retention. So I called the nurse and she said, well, it's counterintuitive, but drink a lot of water. Because when you drink a lot of water, that builds up the pressure and you might be able to pee better. So I did. And it started, then it hurt, so I went to the hospital and they gave me a catheter again. And the person who did it, there was some very unusual amount of pee that came out of me. Because I was drinking water a lot. And that took a little while for that to kind of take on, because I was trying to be, my style about medicine is just do as little as you possibly can that's to handle situations, and that worked. But it was a beautiful opportunity, and I won't do it again. But I would encourage anybody who's thinking about it to do it. Thank you.
I'm Sharon Foley, and I had the inspiration to get this group together because along my search for a kidney donor, I met wonderful people, some of them in this area here and even beyond, and I was just amazed at the stories and the power of human connection. We never know our connection, where our connection will go, and so, this kind of came about because of that. So I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease in November 2021. And when the doctor told me I had chronic kidney disease, I said, well, how can that be? Because I've taken such good care of myself. It just can't happen. And of course, it was happening. And so what had happened was that evidently we all have kidney disease for a different reason. For me, it was I had been on a medication for 20 years when I was much younger. And somehow that damaged my kidney, and the doctor could tell when he did the ultrasound that my kidney was damaged in some way. I had no symptoms at all. So I didn't, it was hard to believe that I had something wrong with me. So then the doctor says, he told me my options. So there's dialysis, there's home dialysis, there's dialysis in an office, and there's also transplant surgery. And so, but transplant surgery is the best option. But then he says, well then, you have to find your own kidney. And I'm thinking, how do you find, what am I going to do? How do you do that? And he says, well, you do that through Facebook. And I thought, I don't even know how to do Facebook. So it started me on this process. And so then I went to the websites, and I went to one of the, kidney.org or something like that. And they said, well, the first step is to write a letter to your friends and family. So I thought, well, I wrote a Christmas letter to about 100 people. So that the 400 people that are on my Christmas list got the letter first, but a letter to friends and families explaining what's happening. And then along the way, you begin to do other things. So I finally got a website. I met Rick, actually. And Rick and I talked about his journey and his search for a kidney. And so I got my own website going, and I learned how to, post on that website, and that would translate to Facebook. So I got that, that social media going. And believe me, it's an ongoing learning. And then I did things like I made business cards and flyers, and all of my friends in the audience here have been posting these in elevators and offices and in stores and whatever to get the word out there. And then the last thing I did was I kind of made my bumper sticker sharing with the kidney. Yeah. And so it's been, I have had people, family and friends that have offered. And for whatever reason, they go through the evaluation process and it hasn't worked out for them. And I've had a couple of strangers, like Father Ray Tatro called me before he died. And he said, Sharon, he said, go to the churches. So I did go to the churches, and immediately after, one priest in Barrington spoke about it from the pulpit. And I got a call from one person right after that. It was a stranger that said, she was wanting to donate to me. I don't know what occurred in that at all, because once the donor goes through the process, it's a private, confidential process for them. So you're not privy to that information unless, you happen to know the person and they inform you. But, so anyways, I'm continuing the search, and I really do believe that we need to raise public awareness, because it's kind of a topic that I didn't know much about. None of my friends and family knew that much about it either. So informing the public and making people aware of the great need, I think, there's like over 295 people in Rhode Island alone that are waiting for a kidney. And I think that people are unaware of that process and how it is that, there are some risks for the person, but there's also usually a great gift, and usually the person survives it because they're very careful about who they choose. So that's why, we've kind of got this group together, and I'm so grateful that everybody's here. And also grateful that we can continue to use the video on this program to continue to bring this to other groups and make people aware of this great need.
We have some time for questions. I think what we'd like to do is, if you have a question or a comment, say it to me. I'll say it into the microphone, and then they'll semaphore it across the room. No, they won't. Whoever it is that can answer the question will come up. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. Yes.
What safety guides are there for people who donate kidneys? What happens if they lose their kidney, the remaining one?
That is a wonderful question. This question is, if someone gives a kidney, what are their safeguards for if they have health problems in the future connected to their kidney? Perhaps the doctor, you can take that.
I think that's a very, very good question. So if patients donated a kidney to anybody and in their future, in the next 20 or 30 years, they develop hypertension or diabetes or any other problems that can cause kidney disease, and they are at this point in the need for a kidney transplant, they actually go to the top of the list and they will get a kidney transplantation and will get priority for a kidney transplantation. And this is something that I think everybody should be aware about, just because, God forbid, as in the future that this donor has medical issues that happen that, during the process and the evaluation they were not present, then definitely they will get on the top of the list and they should not be on dialysis. Yes.
Doctor, is that a rule of the Rhode Island hospital program, or is that a
It's a
generalized-
national rule, actually. Oh, he was asking if this is a rule for Rhode Island Hospital only, or is it like everywhere in the nation? It is everywhere in the nation. If you donate a kidney, then you will be on the top of the list, and your kidney doctor should refer you as soon as possible for a kidney transplant, and you should not get any requirement for dialysis or any modality, and then you should get transplanted as soon as possible.
Oh, and she also mentioned the evaluations to make increase.
Yeah.
This is not going to help.
Correct. So the evaluation when the donor comes forward is to make sure that long term they will not require any dialysis or they will not develop any kidney disease. That's why we choose the very healthy patients to donate, knowing that in the future they will not develop any kidney problems.
Susan, yes.
My question is, when you get kidney disease, does it always affect both kidneys? Or do you sometimes just get kidney disease in one of your kidneys? And how do you know? Like, I always look at my test scores after I get my blood test, and all it says is kidney function, and it says what it is, which isn't great right now. So I don't know if it's one kidney or both kidneys.
Yeah. So this question is about if you're told you have some issue, kidney, or some level of kidney disease, does that mean it's affecting one kidney or both kidneys, or how did they determine that? So Rick is going to tell us.
Just in for a second, doctor's probably better to talk about this, but polycystic kidney disease, which is what I have, it's actually a disease, a genetic disease of both kidneys. And so, the other one, my original native kidney, is still with me because it's so big that it was better to leave it in necessarily than take it out. And that will, or has, wither the rest of the way. And you're basically still living on the donated kidney. And whatever, if there's any life left in it, I guess that would kick in. But actually, the doctor would be better off talking about that.
So, I mean, we've been asked this question every time patients come to us, and I think they, especially if we're going to do like a kidney biopsy on these patients, and they say, why did you choose the right? Why did you choose the left? And whatever really happening on the right is happening on the left. So if, for example, patient has diabetes or hypertension or polycystic kidney disease, it happens in both kidneys, and whatever damage is happening in both kidneys, it does not spare one over the other one.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is it possible for a donated kidney to then need to be replaced?
This is a good question. Is it possible for a donated kidney to then later need to be replaced?
So the living kidney donation, as I said, lasts around 14, sometimes 16 years, 20 years, and then at some point the kidney actually start to fail. So some patients require 2 transplants. I have a patient who had 3 transplants. So usually, like especially if kids, they require transplant when they are in their teens, and the kidney lasts for 10, 15 years. Then they are 25 now. Then they need another kidney transplant. So yes, the kidney can fail, and patients can have another transplantation.
She's asking about the parent exchange program, if it's the same everywhere or if there are different protocols in different areas.
So the kidney pair exchange, as I think somebody mentioned for you, Sheila. So if, for example, he's A and she's B, and they are not a match, and we have another couple who is a B and A. So we kind of do the pair exchange. So every recipient gets a kidney, but they don't get the kidney from their own donor.
Yeah.
And the 2 surgeries happens at the same day.
Right.
So both recipients get kidney, but they don't get the kidney from their own donor. And this is something that we've been doing at Rhode Island Hospital for many years. And this will increase the pool of living donors. And that's why we tell the recipients, do not worry about the donor blood group, because we can always find a way that we can do the paired exchange, and then your recipient will get a kidney anyway.
In addition, we mentioned the Uniswap.
Yeah, we mentioned, yes. So we enter them in the Uniswap, where you can have a donor coming from Oregon or from California, and it will be a match to our recipient, and our donor the kidney will go to a recipient in another state.
I like that. My
story. My husband needs a kidney, and because we have a son, I'm open. I just feel like both of us doing surgery at the same time feels a little scary.
Yeah.
So stretching it out would be better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody else? We have time for just a couple more questions because the library closes at 8. Yes.
Just a question about cost. I'm curious about how much medical insurance covers this, and like what's not covered, and what happens to people who don't have good coverage but are in need.
This is a question that everybody really needs to know the answer to. What about insurance? What about cost? How much does the patient have to bear in terms of medications and everything else?
So all the workup of the donor will be under the medical insurance of the recipient. So the donor actually will not pay anything during the process of the testings and the blood work and the surgery and the hospital stay. We do tell the donor, though, to have a health insurance because we want them to see a primary care doctor and follow up with the primary care and make sure that they follow up closely with the primary care. But the cost of the process and the evaluation and the testing and all the imaging that we do and all the CAT scan and the surgery and the hospital stay should not be under the donor. It will be under the medical insurance of the recipient. Now,
They don't have medical insurance, then
the recipient,
they're out of luck. I really just thinking of.
yeah.
Are you saying if the recipient doesn't have insurance?
Well, that's what I'm saying. What happens to poor people who might need kidney and, you know what I mean? Is there any fund available?
You mean uninsured?
Yes.
So we are really working very hard with the government to get uninsured people get a kidney transplant. We are working on it.
Yeah, working is the operative word.
Yeah. It's gonna take some time, but we are working on it.
So just asking you, so you're saying somebody without medical insurance does not get in line to get a kidney?
So,
I'm asking.
not at the present. So we really, the recipient has to have a medical insurance.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
They need to be able to get prescriptions to follow up. And
Yes.
They have to have it.
And they're gonna be on anti-rejection medications, and they have to take their medications, otherwise the kidney will not work. They will reject the kidney, so this is really priority to have, insurance.
If you can self-fund in some way, let's say you don't have insurance, but somehow someone's making a donation, is that person then put on the list?
You mean self-pay?
Self-pay, or even if you had a charitable event?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as, as long as the medications are covered, I think that's the priority, is the anti-rejection medicine to be covered by, by the patient, so that we know that the kidney is not wasted.
Right.
For those of us who can't do too much in terms of donating, this is an area where we could do some real advocating. So let's keep that in mind, because that's something that we could perhaps gather a storm about and make sure that people are aware of this. Yes, Susan?
For people who are on Medicaid, will Medicaid pay for this?
Will Medicaid pay for it?
Medicare. I mean, I know this is kind of an insurance issues that it's out of the medical field, but I think they should be Medicare, my understanding.
Poor people have Medicaid, which pays for medicines and in addition to Medicare pays for hospitals.
Yeah.
Medicaid for poor people or people who
Yeah.
within a certain.
I have to double check before I answer. I don't want to say yes or no, and I am not really sure.
I think Medicaid folks can come for an eval, but our financial specialist is going to help people work with them to, if they're eligible for Medicare, work with them on the best plan, even if it's short-term Medicare, to cover their eval surgery, the donor's eval surgery, and medication for at least 3 years. So our financial specialist, unfortunately, is not here with us to answer these specific questions. Who, every patient is assigned to this, our financial specialist.
I know that within, you might have a peripheral connection, within 3 years after transplant, all transplanted people, whether you have insurance or not of your own, have to go on Medicare. And if you have, like I have Aetna, it work, but Aetna became secondary for 6 months. It's an obligation you actually have to do. I don't know how that might connect in.
Do you have Medicare?
Pardon?
It's your understanding?
I had Medicare. Well, I had Aetna. Then I don't mean,
Your primary.
my primary for 6 months. It has to be somewhere within the first 3 years after transplant.
Became Medicare.
You have to take, it's an obligation, you have to take Medicare as your primary,
For
which
your
actually,
anti-rejection medicine.
pardon me?
It's mostly for your anti-rejection medications, right?
It was, yeah, maybe that's the intention, but
Yes.
it was all for every doctor I had connected with my kidneys or
Yeah.
not. Medicare was my primary insurance for 6 months.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. The library closes at 8, and while we were discussing some of these issues, the library PA system did come on and announce that the library would be closing in 10 minutes. So we have to bring this to a close. But I see need for another program in our future to discuss some of these things that have just recently come up about insurance and cost. Yes,
We're
Sharon?
also going to videotape this, so it will be available, and I'm not quite sure how it's going to be available. If you gave me your email address, I can get that information to you.
Right.
It's going to be on the sheet. YouTube.
It's on the sheet.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. I really appreciate it.